Okay, today we're looking at a scenario where the Cypriot Empire from What If History Restarted, my series, is real. So, if you haven't seen my series, then all you really need to know is that this is the Cypriot Empire, capitals in Cyprus, and it was pretty much the equivalent of Rome, the Roman Empire, but now it's gone in What If History Restarted. So we're going to see what would happen if it was real. Obviously, there will be no NATO or defensive alliances because then it would just get immediately attacked by NATO. And also, no, stability issues because, it was already unstable enough in What If History Restarted. So in this world, the modern, actual real world, it would probably just shatter into a billion pieces immediately. So none of that's going to be taken into account. And so this country is very big, has a lot of very powerful countries in it, like Turkey, Greece, most of Italy, Egypt, most of Pakistan, Iran, Saudi Arabia. So it's very powerful. But anyway, first things it wants. I'm not sure if it would be where it would be in the power rankings. I would say it might be the second or third strongest country. Maybe first. I don't know, because if America's first, Russia's 2, China's 3, and India's 4. I think that's how it goes. I'm not sure where it would be in between those. But it's probably stronger than India. I'm not sure about China, but probably. Maybe Russia, probably not the US, but still a possibility. But the first thing that the Empire's going to do is just clean up some countries which it practically already annexed. So Moldova, it's just a tiny sliver now, so goodbye. Romania, they kind of consider doing it, but that's just still a decent amount, kind of. Next one is Djibouti. They actually didn't really take that much, but it's Djibouti. They're not going to be stopping all of this. Next up is going to be Afghanistan. Also, still a decent amount. I think they still might even have their capital, but it's already a pretty unstable country. It's very weakened now, so yeah. Probably not Uzbekistan. So there really isn't that many countries that they can just instantly eat up. I'm pretty sure Zagreb is right there, so yeah. I think Serbia might just barely be holding on to its capital, because I think it's right here. It could be right here, but I don't know. So the first thing that we're going to see happen is that, well, other than the cleaning up, is a couple countries that are very weakened uniting. So, for example, we see that Slovenia and Croatia unite for protection, as well as Serbia and Romania. Libya is mostly just desert now, so they're actually going to unite with Tunisia. And that might be it. Sudan is probably also just desert, so they're also going to go with Chad. And yeah. So now the Cypriots can finally start invading some places. First place that they're going to want to go, I would say probably over here in Central Asia. Reasonably, maybe Pakistan first. So they declare war in Pakistan, and it's not much of a fight. They just immediately start rolling in their troops. But so does India, because there's that Kashmir region that's very contested, and India sees this as a perfect opportunity. So India joins in on this war and quickly spills over its troops. Cypriots still take a good portion of the land, but India also gets about half. And so for the new border, we will just redraw this entirely. But it will be somewhere around here. So Cypriots still did get some land, just not as much as they wanted to. And India is also probably pretty happy about that. They did lose this area, which I think Mumbai might be there. That's not the capital. Their capital's probably right there, though. New Delhi. But yeah, I think Mumbai's over here. That could be wrong, though. Don't hurt me. Uzbekistan, also very weak. No one's really gonna do much in this war because they are too scared to. But that doesn't matter, because while they're here, they might as well just go after all of these guys. They aren't very strong, and even if they didn't take any land from these guys, it still would be pretty easy to invade them. So Uzbekistan has lost a pretty big chunk, so they very quickly start capitulating. Cypriots also cut off the group in half. And now they roll up into, I think this is Tajikistan. Yeah, because this one's Kyrgyzstan. But they go up into Kyrgyzstan too. They also encircle some troops here. And from there, the rest of these guys just capitulate. So, rest in peace. And we see full annexation once more. The Cypriots are slowly getting stronger, which is not good for anyone other than them. I do not think any country would really ally with them, because, well, obviously they're invading countries, so, you know, they're pretty not good. They are from, like, medieval times. And then, like, China, maybe, I think China is the only one that could reasonably do it, like, maybe to team up against India, but we won't see that, at least not yet. First, they're going to go into South Sudan and just steamroll it down the Nile, and pretty quickly just start wiping out these troops. These guys have all the modern technology from this land, which I believe does include a couple nukes, so that's good for them. They might have to use them, they might not. But South Sudan is kind of two halves. Also, I believe pretty unstable, just like regular Sudan. But both of them are now gone. And once again, fully annexed. Hooray. Let me check how many nukes they would have really quick. Okay, I've looked it up. I think they would have about, it said about 190 from Pakistan, and then about 90 from Israel. So we'll just round down a little bit and say 250 nukes, so they're definitely not short on those. But regardless, the next opponent is going to be Italy, who's been weakened by a lot. They did lose Rome, so yeah. It's kind of probably feeling pretty good for the Cypriots, because their biggest enemy, other than Greece, was probably northern Italy, from what if history restarted. Yeah, I gotta keep advertising it. But yeah, Italy is a pretty strong country, but not strong enough to really resist this. I mean, this is definitely the weaker half of it. So, once they get up to the Alps here, they kind of just freeze to death. And soon enough, Italy is fully taken and fully annexed. So that's great. Next up, they're going to want to go for these little unions here. So the first one they declare war on is the Serbian-Romanian one. And I mean, I'll let you guess how that goes. But before they can really get a chance to declare war on the Slovenian-Croatian one, these guys are actually going to go ahead and join Austria. And then Austria is going to make a defensive pact. So if we get a circle, which is really just a paintbrush, we can see that this new anti-Cypriot defense pact is going to include quite a few countries. Mostly up here in like central-ish, kind of just all over Europe really. You can see this one, Ethiopia, India, which is pretty good for them, but notably not Kazakhstan, so that's who they're going to go, that's who they're going to go for next. So, they're, first of all, go around the Aral Sea, probably pretty confused on why it's dried up, but as they're making their way over to this lake, which they do successfully do, Russia is going to go ahead and enter this war to try and take back as much of these, like, ex-Soviet lands as possible. And because of that, they consider invading Ukraine, but they probably don't want to take on all of Europe, especially if the Cypriots decide to join up and also invade them at the same time. That would not be good. So they do not. But the poor Kazakhstan really doesn't stand a chance, and then they just get eaten up immediately. In the peace treaty, if we undo this border, swoosh. Then, ooh, sorry. We're just gonna erase you. But the new border is going to be... I can't select it. Oh, I just did it. Hooray. So yeah, Cypriots just moving in further to Asia, really. But by now, they're probably going to want to stop. They have gone pretty good amount of land out of Asia, so... And they already did in the first place. Russia takes the rest of Kazakhstan, and with them annexing that, they are also going to do some other things. Color in these. And there's a good reason why we're coloring it in, and that is because it is going to be uniting, not with Japan, I just need to fill in these islands, but it's going to be uniting with Belarus. And from there, it is going to quickly invade the Baltic states, which is over very fast. Very detailed war, I know. I mean, they didn't really stand a chance, so. But after Russia has completely taken over all of the Baltic states, they're going to redeclare themselves as the Soviet Union, and they're going to offer a pact with the Cypriots. Basically, they want their own alliance that goes against the Circle alliance over here in Europe. So, they do this. The Cypriots accept. And we see the square team being formed with the Cypriots and Soviet Union, as well as China. So, this is a very powerful threat all of a sudden. And that's going to really encourage some more of the world to join in on the Circle team, because this is very scary. You have some of these African countries joining. The Nordic countries do. I don't know what the definition of Nordic is. I kind of forget. Pretty much all of Europe does. We're just not going to fill in those tiny ones like Luxembourg, because they don't really matter. But yeah. And of course, so does the US. And Canada, and even Iceland. They're going to help out a lot. Algeria considers it, but eventually declines because it's too worried about, well, I mean, not too worried, but it doesn't want to be in the same alliance as France. I don't believe that they like each other too much. Switzerland does nothing, but the Cypriots don't want to invade them anyway. But yeah. So with that, we're going to see the square team, who aren't even, we're going to color in China red now. But China is going to go ahead and, with the Soviet Union, they jointly invade Mongolia to reestablish a new border and pretty much just communize it. Communize, I guess it would just be communize. But yeah. Pretty much it's going to be a straight line here now. I mean, not straight, but like, there's no major dips or anything. Which I guess is just straight, but whatever. We also see that Japan joins the Circle team. So that's good for them. A little South Korea. But maybe a little bit unsurprisingly, North Korea is going to join the square team. I don't think, the Cypriots weren't really ever in an alliance. They were kind of allies with the St. Petersburg country for a little while, but that didn't really even last, and that really wasn't an alliance. It was kind of a trade partnership kind of thing. So yeah. Anyway, the Circle team is pretty upset by the growth of the square team, so they're gonna do their own little things, which is, well, it's not going to be invading, but it's going to be uniting with these countries, Nepal and Bhutan. They are pretty afraid of China invading them, so just to protect themselves, and definitely not because they were bribed, they join India. With this, the Cypriots really don't have much elsewhere to expand. Like, it's either their own allies, this massive alliance, or Somalia. So that's going to be their really last place. But they really can't even go any further from here because now the only new country... No, they already border Kenya, so they aren't even going to border any new countries. And yeah, Somalia, very rebellious in the north with Somaliland. But yeah, no matter what, it's going to fall pretty quickly and be fully annexed. So yeah, very interesting border here. But now with tensions at an all-time high, obviously it's not just going to be like this forever, because soon enough China is going to go ahead and invade Taiwan and take over the island. And with that, they're also going to go ahead and do some island hopping over here and take over these Japanese islands, which is going to trigger this World War III. Yeah. So we don't really... I guess we'll still keep it. So now we gotta fill in all the countries. Hooray. I'll see you in a second. All the circle team has now been filled in blue. And the Cypriots are also now red temporarily, just to show that they're allies with these three. And so World War III is going to kick off, obviously, where it started. U.S. going to kick off where it started. That's very intelligent. But over here, we see that China and North Korea are going to start flooding troops into South Korea. And I mean, they knew this was going to happen, the Circle Alliance, so it's kind of seen as a lost cause. There is some naval fighting over here, though. They are unable to make a landing in Japan. There's also some naval landings, or fighting up here, but nothing actually happening. Over here, it's winter right now, so it's too cold up here to really do much. Maybe just some bombing, I guess. Over in Europe, there's more fighting. So obviously Ukraine is kind of just in an awkward position right here, just sandwiched between these two, between Russia and China. Not China, Russia and the Cypriots. So they're going to get beat up by the two of them pretty easily. Up here, though, these guys are able to kind of liberate some of the Balkan countries because they were just recently invaded. They also get kind of close to St. Petersburg. They also start liberating some of Italy and cut off the peninsula, as well as taking Sardinia. Over here in Africa, this is where actually a decent amount of Cypriot troops are, and that's because mainly what they're doing is kind of leaving Europe for Russia, Japan for China, only in South Korea, and for the Cypriots, they have them split between Africa and India, and China's also sending over some troops to India. The U.S. is definitely being a little bit of a hindrance to that plan, though, as they're majorly fueling Japan, which does lead to Japan managing to capture Sakhalin, as well as start doing some island hopping up here. And Russia's getting some flashbacks, and Japan is going pretty wild on them. Hopefully they do not do what they did to China in World War II. But regardless, over here we see more pushing from the Circle team, though they have slowed down a little bit. St. Petersburg is under siege, so hooray, that's great. That went amazing the last time in history it happened. But Finland also manages to cut off the Kola Peninsula or something like that? Karelia. And I just realized I forgot to show what was happening in Africa. But it doesn't really matter because, I mean, it's about what you would expect. The Cypriots have about half their troops down here. So that's like all of Egypt, all of Saudi Arabia, all of Turkey, at least, all pushing down into just like these guys. So they do a pretty good job there. However, India is actually surprisingly doing kind of well. They've taken back this piece of land that they once lost. The Himalayas are right here, so that's a bit of an issue. But they are pushing in the Kashmir region, going up here. I don't think the Himalayas extend all the way over here, so maybe a little bit here too. Meanwhile, China makes a landing on this island, and while this is pretty frightening, they are actually unable to advance any further into Japan. These islands should be pink, not red. Speaking of Japan, they are able to advance a lot further into Russia. They pretty much encircle this. I guess this is just like a really big bay. But yeah, not too many. Well, there's a lot of troops here, but yeah, it's pretty open rural land. They also start working to encircle some troops over here, which goes well, and they start pushing into Manchuria and meeting the border of North Korea. Over here in Europe, the Europeans have completely taken out and liberated the Italian peninsula. They do not land on Africa yet, but they do start pushing down into Dalmatia. I don't know why the Europeans are so covered with white dots on the borders, but oh well. There is a pretty big push from Russia over here, or Soviet Union, whatever, as they move right into Poland, and also Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary a little bit. They try to cut off these troops over here. They manage to actually kick these guys backward, and they actually have to retreat a little bit. And from there, the Russians are the ones that get encircled, and now this starts leading to them getting pushed back a little bit more. And with St. Petersburg falling, Russia is kind of being humiliated right now. Over in Africa, that front ends. But over in India, things are getting a little bit better. So, for the red team I mean, they've been pushed out of Kashmir. They do still hold on to a decent amount of land down here. They also got pushed out of this area of China. But now they are getting invaded, so that's not great for them. Japan manages to repel the southern invasion. And they also make a landing on South Korea, liberating it. And from there, North Korea is pretty instantly wiped out. They try to use their nukes, but I doubt any of them really work. So, yeah. Japan is actually doing pretty well. Keep in mind, this is where most of the U.S.'s funding is going, because they want to really push back Russia over here and China to make a huge distraction, and then kind of going through here. I mean, Russia's already kind of losing to Europe, because the U.S. is still definitely supplying Europe. But speaking of Europe, Russia has started to make a counteroffensive. They go back up to the Baltic Sea and capture Estonia. They go around up here, but they're unable to fully take St. Petersburg back. Don't mind that noise, if you heard that. That was Santa. Over here, the Cypriots retake Malta, but that's not really that amazing, because they're getting pushed back into the Balkans by a lot. Over here, though, since they're now free of Africa, they can start to focus in more on India, which goes very well for them. They push them out of their country and now start running through India. I don't know why this is so weirdly colored. But now that India's cut in two, things aren't great, as a lot of troops are pushed out and eventually killed here. In the southern half, the capital is also taken, and from there a massive panhandle spearhead is made. These guys are encircled, and things are not looking great for India, as they're pretty much just the Himalayas, so they capitulate. So now the Cypriots are pretty much free just to focus in on Europe. Meanwhile, over here, Japan moves a little bit further into Siberia, but they don't really have a reason to do that anymore. However, China has been pushing them back here a little bit, though Japan is actually getting pretty close to Beijing. They also take Taiwan, as well as liberating these southern islands. That might not seem like much, but there's a lot of troops here trying to invade them, so actually it's pretty important. Soviets push out Finland, and now start pushing back into the Baltics and take back Kaliningrad. And now poor little Poland is left to just die pretty much. So they go ahead and do that. And now naval landings are made all over in Sweden. And Helsinki is captured. And now the entire Baltic Sea is encircled. So yeah. From there, a spearhead is made over here, and these guys are encircled. And Sweden starts to kind of crumble. So that's not great for Europe. They do manage to take back all of Greece, but over here the Cypriots are having some success. They also push into Hungary a little bit. Over here, Russia and China managed to make a big surprise counteroffensive to cut the Japanese in two. However, they are mostly naval, so it's not that big of a deal. They do capture a good chunk out of Manchuria, and I believe Beijing is now encircled over here, which is not great for China. Soviets, though, are having a lot more success, pretty much just pushing Japan out of Siberia. To be fair, they did just kind of evacuate, but it's fine. It's whatever. So then, after that, Finland capitulates, as well as this northern part of Sweden and Norway, and really just all of the Nordic countries. Denmark is taken, and now even the northern coast of Germany. However, after the Cypriots pushed them back some more over here in Greece, a new kind of defensive line is established right here. And this is pretty hard for both sides to get through, and the war just kind of stalemates over there. Meanwhile, in Japan, Beijing falls over to the Japanese and American troops. And now a lot more naval landings are made over here, so Shanghai is also taken, and Hong Kong, and all of these islands. And now China is landlocked. They just kind of push further inland from here. And China, despite having a ton of manpower, is actually kind of falling apart right now. Soviets do manage to capture all of Sakhalin and a lot of this part, but still not all of it. European front, still not too many changes. Denmark is liberated, but other than that, really not much. The US and Canada are starting to actually have a little plan up here as it gets warmer. It's probably just the summer now. So they actually make a landing up here in Siberia, and they start to push all the way in. Take this northern island, and then this peninsula, I kind of forgot the name. From there, a bunch of naval landings are made around here, and this area is just kind of empty, so it capitulates kind of just automatically. From there, more pushes are made into China. Pretty much all of Manchuria falls, and Lake Baikal is reached. In the European front, things are going better for the red team, though. They have finally broken through the line down here in the south, and from there they kind of just started to spill over into the remainder of the Balkans, if you can even consider this Balkans, but whatever. But yeah, definitely all the Balkans are gone now. Italy is still fully liberated, but that's kind of it. Czechia capitulates, and Berlin is under siege. Britain does make a small landing up here in Norway, but we'll see how that turns out. That's not really a small landing, but yeah. Over here, once more, this is just kind of empty wilderness, so yeah, it's not really controlled by anyone, so it's pretty easy just to say that you can have occupied it. From there, most of China's population has been taken by now, I think. So after some more pushing down here in the south, China completely just starts to fall apart. There really is not a lot they can do. in this war anymore. But the red team is having a lot of success in Europe still. They take all of Berlin and Bavaria and Austria, as well as even Switzerland, although that is pretty costly. They kind of just encircle the Alps and send a couple of troops up there. But from there, Italy is pretty massively taken out by both sides. And then these islands are taken, as well as these Spanish ones. And a big push is made down here on the coast. Whoa. Britain's landing falls, although it was a pretty good distraction, so they were, prolonging this. But from here, Europe is kind of done for. But the blue team is doing great over here in Siberia and China, because, like I said, there's basically nothing here. So even though there is still a decent amount of fighting over here, the blue team is coming out on top. I think this is like the first time Russia's ever been invaded from this direction, so that's something new for them. China is practically gone. It's just like Tibet and Xinjiang, or however you say it. But over here in Europe, it's inevitable. But Denmark is taken again for like the 5th time in this war. So are the Netherlands, and a bunch of troops are encircled in Germany. From there, all of Benelux falls, as well as Paris. They then go through Normandy and Brittany, and then cut off all of France, so goodbye. And then they slowly push out Iberia, and even make a landing up here from the Netherlands. From there, they go to London, although it's unable to fall right now. They take over all of Wales, and soon enough Scotland is also kind of falls apart and capitulates. Ireland is taken, and now England's just left as like Cornwall and whatever this is. Goodbye to Svalbard, and not Iceland, because that's too far, and too cold. China, whoa, no. China is completely gone by now, but as well as most of Russia, but most of their populated part is here. So with that, we do see some liberation of India. The Himalayas are here, but they can still go around from here. We'll just liberate all of India. And now, I think this is the first time that the blue team has invaded the Cypriots from Asia. So, they also take this. But from here, England falls, and Iceland is taken. With this, there is mostly just naval war up here, but now the Cypriots and Russia are fully focusing their troops in over here. But it's just too much, as we have pretty much, you actually have a lot of European troops here, but you also have Japan, South Korea, India, Canada, and of course America. So, with Russia's leader also being assassinated, things are really not going well for them. Soon enough, they start to fall as well. And now, all of a sudden, the Cypriots are the only ones left in the red team. So let's just do a little bit of this, and a little bit of this. With the Cypriots now being secluded, there's really not much help, as they are very loosely controlling Europe. Most of it is highly rebellious, obviously. So with that, we see large liberations take place. This takes a very long time, but it does happen. I just don't want to bore you, because this would take a while to show. Well, Cyprus is still red. Over here, they start to push back in through Romania and Ukraine. They make a naval landing across the Caspian and encircle the Caspian. From there, they cut off Persia. And, take that out. They then start moving down Italy. And all of the Balkans is soon to fall. So does all of Caucasia and all of Anatolia and Greece. A landing is finally made in northern Africa, which liberates these two countries. One is also made from India, which goes ahead and conquers or liberates all of these guys, as well as pushes into this Cypriot land that they gained in this video. Then move up to Arabia, and after pretty much just like jointly going across the Red Sea, Egypt is cut off and this entire area falls. Soon enough, they start pushing up the Arabian desert, and kind of just reduces them to the Levant. But soon enough, it's just Cyprus once again. Very familiar. But Cyprus, remember, still has those 250 or so nukes, and well, everything was kind of happening. They also got quite a few from Russia and China. So, and most of those have been, all the most powerful ones have been moved to actual Cyprus. So, with the Allied troops getting very close to the Cypriot island, we see that Cyprus is going to do their final little thing. And first of all, their first wave, they send out a bunch of nukes to conquer, or, well, not conquer, but just to destroy all this military around them. Also one in Greece, because why not? And from there, then the real terrible part is going to start. First city hit is Berlin, followed by Paris and Madrid and Barcelona. And then hit Amsterdam, Brussels, London, Krakow, Warsaw, Vienna, Prague, Kiev. I'm just kind of naming all the cities I remember. Lisbon, Dublin, Edinburgh, Belfast, Oslo, Stockholm, Copenhagen, Helsinki, Reykjavik, Nuuk, things down here. And finally, they move over. Well, actually not finally, because first you gotta lay up India, as well as these guys. There's nothing up there. I think probably Helsinki and Nagasaki got hit again, so that's great. And now finally, they turn their attention over to the Americas, but America has quite a few nukes of their own, so we're just going to make them red, or I guess it would be more sense for them to be blue. These nukes now, basically America sends like let's say like one nuke hits right here, and then 10 minutes later another right here, 10 minutes later another right here. They do that for about 30 different nukes until eventually, Cyprus is just gone, basically. Probably keep bombarding it. Cyprus is literally just gone. So the US has been avoided from the nukes. They probably had to shoot a few down over the Atlantic. Most of Europe is dead, and a ton of people over here. But at least they did that. So now it's time for a peace treaty. Okay, so this peace treaty shouldn't take too long to explain. It's kind of self-explanatory. But first of all, first act of the peace treaty, well, pretty much everything is reset back to normal. Still definitely are some changes, as you can see. I did not mean to make the Baltics united. How did that happen? Yep. Boom. Okay. I don't know where that happened. But anyway, first of all, might as well just start over here. Baltics and Finland both got a decent amount of land out of Russia. Poland also, Kaliningrad got divided up. Ukraine took most of Belarus and also a chunk out of Russia. We have this new Caucasian country being created. Siberia is made independent, and of course we now just have a new Russian government up here. Rest in peace to Cyprus. Africa looks the same as before. Now, over here is a little bit more interesting. India stays united with Nepal and Bhutan. They also keep Kashmir, but they also get Tibet. So we have the creation of what I'm going to call the Indian Himalayan Union, because you got India plus, as well as India, which now has Kashmir. That's one side of it. So look at this. plus Tibet, Nepal, and Bhutan, who are all over here. So this is kind of how it is. It's like a little Austria-Hungary sort of situation, I guess. Again, even if you really want, we could even do this to show that. So yeah, that is the Indian Himalayan Union. You have Xinjiang being made independent. Inner Mongolia also. They are not joining Mongolia because most of them are. Because if they were to, Mongolia is so sparsely populated and China has so many people in it that if these were to unite, then there would be the new majority in all of Mongolia would be Chinese. So yeah, we have Manchuria. South Korea takes North Korea. Taiwan takes the rest of China. Japan takes a lot of this area, and that is it. There is a lot less Europeans now, but you're just gonna have to deal with that. Also, probably a lot less Indians, and also just a lot less people in general. But the world is still not completely destroyed, so that's great, I suppose.